Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. Today we're going to talk about wellness, and we have a perfect example of wellness, not only in your 40s and your 50s, but also in your 60s and beyond. Lynnis Woods-Mullins is a certified holistic living and wellness expert, and she's a certified life coach for women over 40. And we're really excited to have her here on the show. So Lynnis, welcome to Leaders of Transformation.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you today, Nicole.
It is a pleasure to have you. And Lynnis and I have actually gotten to know each other over the last several months. We have rescheduled this interview a number of times because of personal situations on my side. And she has been so supportive of that. As some of you know, my mother passed away, and we were going to do the interview. I think it was the day after. And had to reschedule that and then reschedule it again and so forth. But, good things are worth waiting for. And so I'm just so excited for this opportunity to have Lynnis here to share with you her passion and her expertise in this area. Let me give our listeners a little bit more background on you, Lynnis, and then we'll dive right in. So Lynnis is the founder of PraiseWorks Health and Wellness, which is a faith-based mind, body, and spirit wellness company that specializes in educating women over 40 through her coaching programs, ebooks, DVDs, radio programs, webinars. She's got a digital magazine and also a podcast video series. She started her company 10 years ago. I'm going to give away her age, and I'm sure she's okay with that because she talks about it on her show. When I was on her show, we were talking about how old she was. Or should I say actually how young she is. But 10 years ago, at the age of 51, she started her company and is a prime example that you can live well and live on purpose at any age. In fact, when she's just getting started now, and I've heard some of the things that she's got planned for the next 10 years, and it's pretty exciting. So 10 years and beyond, she's just warming up. And what I love about that is that all of these programs, these online programs, she has embraced the digital world. By no means an expert. I know, Lynnis, you've said that yourself. I'm not an expert on it, but you know what? She is embracing technology to be able to get her message out there. And it's a testimony to women sometimes, we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s and, are beyond and say, oh, maybe I'm too old to learn this new stuff. And she proves that is absolutely not the case. She also writes for several blogs and is a featured columnist for Women's Voice e-magazine, Sacramento Observer Empowerment Series, Post 40 blogger, Hive Health Media, and curejoy.com. She is married and is the proud mother of 4 grown daughters and 3 grandchildren. And as I said, we're really excited to have her here sharing. Just even looking at you, Lynnis, you're like this example of health and wellness and vibrance. And she was just talking to me before we started this recording that she was like, oh, I'm doing yoga and doing all this thing. Like, that is just so awesome. So let's start off with what inspired you to change careers at the age of 51 and start your own company?
Well, I had an event in my life that let me know that I needed to make some changes. And at the time when I had the event, there was nothing in my realm of reality that would suggest that I would do anything on the internet or anything in wellness. It's just one of those kind of things that I was led to over time. But the event was that one day I woke up and couldn't stop crying. Ended up having to go to the doctor, and that's when they told me basically that I needed a rest. And so I did go on a rest, and at the end of that rest, I decided that I wanted to take some more time off. So I was in the healthcare industry, so I decided, I could take a sabbatical and still be paid. So I went on for a sabbatical for a year, and on the day that I was due to go back, I instead sent an email to my boss and said, you know what, I'm not coming back. I need to do something else. And it was from that, during that time, I had gone to some career counselors and done some introspection, a lot of journaling, a lot of prayer. And I knew I didn't want to go back, but I knew I wanted to do something that had to do with helping women over 40 not go through what I went through in terms of finding out how really sick I was, in terms of my fatigue, the fact that I had post-traumatic stress. I had an anxiety disorder. I was anemic. I was underweight. Some of these things I knew were wrong, but I didn't do anything to take care of them. Just kind of ignored them. And I wanted to really put together some things that would give women some aha moments in terms of things that they might need to change so that they could feel more well in their mind, body, and spirit. Because I learned that after 40, 50, and 60, when I look back and think about some things, one of the first things that begins to slip as we get older is our self-care. And why is that? Because we have more time now, supposedly. Our kids are growing, are more self-sufficient. Hopefully they've left the nest, if that's what you want, and they're moving on with their lives, and you have this time. So why are we not taking that time to take care of ourselves? We might even have a little bit of discretionary income. So why are we not spending some of that money on fixing some of the things on the inside of us and not just the outer look, not just the makeup and the hair? Why aren't we doing some of the other stuff that needs to be done? And I've learned over the last 10 years a lot of reasons why that is. And a lot of it is that we've spent so much time putting ourselves on the back burner that when it's time for us to reach back there and pull ourselves up, we don't even really know how to do that anymore. We're in such denial that it's needed that we really have to peel back the layers to figure out, okay, what is it that I want to do? And that's why a lot of times when women get between the 40s and the 50s, they're beginning to feel like there's got to be something more. And yes, there is something more. The something more is you. You have all this stuff that you haven't really had a chance to do yet because you've been so busy taking care of everybody else, nurturing your children, nurturing your career, nurturing your husband and his career, and, being a pillar in the community and all these other things. And somewhere in there is you, and it gets lost. And that's what happened to me in that 51. I just decided that I was going to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so, here I am 10 years later doing something that I really didn't have any expertise in at the time, wellness. I went back to school, got the certifications, but I still really didn't know anything. And when it came to the internet and social media, I knew nothing. But I'm really proud to say that even though I was an older person, I figured it out. And now I have over 200,000 followers in my shows and my magazine, my social media, all that stuff. But it all started with the idea that there had to be something more. In order for me to feel more fulfilled in terms of what I was doing back in my 40s, and really deciding to peel back the onion layers, really peel back the layers and figure out what that was and then do it.
As this show is about transforming the way people see themselves, the way they see others, and the way they see the world around them. And what you're talking about is transforming the way women see themselves. And I know often, I'm 46, I know that often a lot of the friends that I have and people that I talk to, there's kind of like two camps. There's the, I'm just getting started life. There's so much there for me to explore and to do at this age. And then there's the other side, which is, I'm getting older and I kind of missed the boat, didn't have kids or whatever, or, I've done all these things and now I'm kind of winding down. And I don't have as many of those friends, but I know that's a conversation that occurs. And so here you're talking about starting something new, learning new things, embracing life in this, this next chapter, next season of your life, or the second half of your life. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about you is your vibrance and your enthusiasm about that. You just have a different way of looking at it. What do you think causes that shift? Like, what do you think is that, I know what it is for you, but I know you also work with a lot of women through your coaching programs and so forth to help them to make that shift where they actually realize that they're just beginning. Sometimes I've had to remind myself of that. I go, oh my gosh, I'm 46 and, there's all these things that I wanted to have done by now and I haven't done them. And then I realized, you know what? I'm 46 years old. I remember actually looking at my parents and where my parents were at 46 and what they were doing. My dad had actually just had a failed business and was just restarting. And I look at their life and how much they accomplished between even 46 and 49 in those 3 years. It was extraordinary, And so it reminds me, it's like, Nicole, you're just getting started. It's the perception though, because this is the oldest I've ever been. so, so I'm coming from that perspective. But yeah, what's that shift that happens within people which allows them to see a different future for themselves?
Well, we live in a society that is an ageism society. Everything's about age. And one of the things that you first have to realize is really not so much the age that you're in, it's the stage that you're in. And each age, each year, represents a different stage of your life that you can be in. So if you look at it that way, you still have many stages to act upon, many stages to live. And I think that, first of all, when I work with women, one of the things I ask them is, if everything was perfect in your life, what would you be doing? Then I ask them, why? Why would you be doing that? Well, because I love clothes, or well, because I love to sew, or well, because I've always wanted to garden. And it starts from there. Then why don't you do that thing? Why don't you start doing that thing? Because for me, what started out was that I thought that I would create or open a dance studio for women over 40 and teach dance lessons, because in one of my other lives, my other stages, I was a professional dancer. I'm classically trained. I was a dance minor in college, so I can teach, and I have taught before. So I would teach and create classes that were specifically geared towards women over 40. And so I did that thing. And I quickly found out that there were so many other things that they needed besides just dance. I had women in my class that had chronic disease, a couple who were obese, one woman who was overcoming breast cancer, still yet another woman who was an empty nester, and someone else who had just lost their husband. They all had these different stories, and they were all going through different things. And I thought, well, what else could I create that could help them with their overall health? And that's kind of where I've ended up taking a look at the wellness movement, which incorporated the idea of taking care of, and with the quest of thriving in your mind, your body, and your spirit. So sometimes it's not that thing that you dream about that you always want to do as you're writing down, but it's the start of leading you to where it ultimately is you're supposed to go. But you first have to be willing to take that journey, because it is a journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. And along that way, I truly do believe that the universe, the creator, God, whatever you want to call it, lends to you, gives to you tools, tips, and techniques to get you to where you want to be. But the first step is remaining open and being transparent and vulnerable with yourself, if no one else, to the possibilities of trying something that you've always wanted to do, but you just hadn't done it. That's where it starts.
That actually brings up a really good point, because I coach a lot of people that are transitioning into the next stage, looking at what do I want to do? Okay, I've been successful. Now what? And people that maybe haven't been fulfilled in their life up at this point, but they're saying, you know what, I want to be now. And a lot of times it's like they want to figure out the thing. And, it's like, I got to figure it all out. I've got to have the answer, that light bulb moment. Aha, this is the thing that I'm going to do. And you look on Facebook and you see people that it looks like that's what they did, like, oh, I thought I was going to do that. I just decided I was going to do this, and now it's amazing. But in reality, the journey is very different. It's the trying one thing, having a dance studio, then realizing, wow, maybe that's not completely it. There's more to it. I know for myself, starting Discover the Edge back in 2005, I thought I was going to do personality workshops, just focus on personality dynamics. And that was the thing that I was going to teach. And then I realized, wow, there's so much more to this in helping people to play to their strengths and be who they were created to be and live their best life. So there was so much more to it. And then it expanded and evolved from there. So I think there's this misconception that I'm supposed to figure this thing out and I'm supposed to find the thing. I've even actually heard people say, I wish I was one of those people that just knew the thing that I was meant to do. Like young people, for example, who have this ability to sing. They know they're going to be a singer. They start out young and so forth. But that's not usually the case for most people. And what you're saying is it's just taking that step, being open and taking
it's taking that step, and then beginning to, I think journaling is an important piece of that. As you're recording what you're feeling, how it's going, really being honest and vulnerable with yourself. I think that's a real important part of peeling back the layers of what it is you really do want to do. Because I know the first 4 years, it took me 4 years to figure out. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's true that a like doesn't equal a dollar. I mastered social media, but I wasn't making any money. So then I'm like, okay, I guess I need to put together some actual products and services. And so then I had to go through, what is it that women care about? Now, thankfully, I had enough of a following, to be able to ask them and get some relevant answers. So I don't know, it's the chicken and the egg, it depends on if you have the money to wait 4 years to do a whole bunch of research, which includes likes and no money, go for it. But if not, do as I say, not as I do. I would say that you definitely want to have an end game in mind in terms of where you want to be once you begin to figure out, this is what I want to do. Like, ultimately, my goal was, once I figured out what I wanted to do, and I'm still moving towards that, is to be basically a media maven when it comes to wellness. I wanted to publish in magazines, done that, have podcasts, done that, have videos, done that, write a book, doing that. I've been on several collaborations in books, also do webinars and, speaking engagements, and also eventually publish other people to the point where people know that my brand, the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond brand, when they see something by Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond, they will know that it has something to do with wellness for women over 40. And it's going to be something alternative, something holistic, something maybe a little bit different than what your doctor might tell you, or even maybe what your girlfriends are talking about. Something that's going to give you a, you know what, I think I'm going to try that coconut oil in my coffee, because she said it gave her extra energy and it helps with my blood sugar levels. So maybe I'll give that a try. That's the kind of information that I want my branding to be able to share with women. And even though it's a brand for women, what I do is for women, I have a lot of male followers now. I was looking at my stats the other day, and in fact, some of them asked, well, when are you going to do something for men? Well, I will never do something specific for men, because I'm into women. I love women. I'm not gay, but I love women, in terms of being able to educate and work with them. But the thing is, I do like to say that the Wellness Woman brand is really for women over 40 and all the people who love them, because so much of what I share is applicable to a lot of different people. So it's just, finding what your groove is and then working that groove and letting that groove kind of direct you, and being flexible enough to know where, okay, that was really good then, but now it's trying to do something else.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I am right now in my journey right now.
Yes. And that's such a great point, is being open to the pivot.
Yes.
So, yes. What are some of the questions, when you talk about journaling, what are some of the questions that you ask yourself? Because I think sometimes the questions we ask ourselves often limit the answers, because it's like, I've heard, and even I remember back in my 20s, I asked myself, what am I doing wrong? Which is, of course, the wrong question to ask myself. So the quality of answers is based on the quality of questions.
Yes.
And so what are some of the questions that you asked
yourself? Well, there are 2 or 3 questions in particular that I think that we should open our journaling with. And that is, first of all, what are the 3 things that I am particularly grateful today for? What are those 3 things? And I like to do it at the end of the day, but some people might want to do it at the beginning of the day. Or what are the 3 things that I was grateful for yesterday? I think that focusing on the things that you're grateful for, focusing on gratitude, I'm sure you know all about the whole idea of gratitude, but it's so powerful, because what you focus on, what you think about, the things that you give your attention to truly do multiply. So if you're focusing on gratitude and something positive, something that gave you a source of joy, that multiplies itself. And you begin to find more and more things to be grateful for. And the trajectory as a result of that is a positive end result for you. The other thing that I think is important about is, what is it that you would have me do today? And who you're talking to could be God, the universe, your subconscious, whatever it is that you listen to. What is it that you would have me do today? And then whatever that thing is, write it down, because there's something there. Now, some of it might be kind of weird. Well, one day I said, what would you have me do today? And very clear it came out, nothing. Nothing? Because I'm a doer. I very rarely like to sit still. Nothing. I just want you to sit and listen to whatever it is that I give you during this time. And it was from that my whole thing changed. I'll never forget. It was November 3rd, 2017, when I did nothing but listen. And that's when I began to realize that it was time for me to up level, to go to the next level. Now, it took me a whole year to implement my up leveling plan because of all the different distractions and things that were going on at the time. But I did do it. And I had another one of those days just recently, October 2nd, 2018. And in that, with some powerful messages in terms of what I'm supposed to do next. So I really do believe in asking the gratitude question and asking what is it that you would have me to do. And the third thing is, what do I have to celebrate today? What happened today that I can celebrate? I think as women, we don't celebrate ourselves enough. We don't embrace our awesomeness, and we don't really know our value. As human beings, I think women are extremely valuable. And I know you have male listeners too. I love men. I'm not saying I don't like men, not that. But I'm just saying that many women don't celebrate themselves. They keep looking for that empowerment to come from outside of them. And many times the people who we love and admire don't know what we need. They're well-meaning, but they don't always know what we need. Sometimes we need to celebrate the fact that we closed that deal, or we sold that pen for $5. Somebody else we tell that to, and they're like, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? But they don't know how long it took you to create that pen, and to work up the courage to call someone, to pitch that pen, to close that pen, to send the invoice for the pen, and to hear the ding-ding when it went off on your PayPal. That's a huge thing. It's not so much about the money, but what it took to get to that point. Many times when you look outside yourselves for that kind of empowerment, that celebration, that affirmation of who you are, you just don't get it, or it's a little disappointing. But you know, so why not? Go ahead and document those successes and celebrate it. I think it's important that we celebrate those successes, no matter how small they are. So those are the 3 questions, What are you grateful for? What is it that you would have me do today? And what happened today that I can celebrate? What was my success, no matter how small?
I love that. And when you talk about looking for the validation outside, even from men who may be listening or watching, that's a lot of pressure to put on someone else, that somebody else is going to uplift you, and it's fatiguing. And if you think of the women that have the most that are the most attractive, and I'm not talking about looks so much as the energy and the vibe that they give off, that people are magnetized to like you, it's that you have gained that from within, and it shines out of you, as opposed to trying to get it from others and posting a whole bunch of selfies and what do you think of me?
Somebody like it, please like it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that is so prevalent right now, and the problem with that is if you don't happen to get a whole bunch of likes, then what does that say about you? And so this whole worthiness conversation. But when you talk about celebrating, it's funny, and the gratitude, I've done this exercise with clients where, I say, okay, what are 10 things that you're grateful for? And invariably they'll list their family and their wife or the husband or their kids or blah, 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 all these external things. And I say that is all wonderful. Mm-hmm. What about you? What are you grateful for about you? What can you celebrate? Like what you're saying, like, what can you celebrate about you? And we often forget ourselves, and this goes for men too. They forget about themselves, right? But especially women do. They forget about themselves because they're so busy, focusing on everybody else and serving everybody else.
Nurturing everybody else. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had someone say that the feminine energy is the nurturing and it's the giving out. Actually, that's not true, right? The feminine energy is the receiving. Yes. And the male energy is the giving. So we've got it all backwards when it comes to that. So,
well, society has really placed us in these roles, and we're beginning to really start pushing back on some of that because, some of it just doesn't make sense. I don't know where it started, but this whole idea that women are, weak. We're not weak. I mean, my goodness, we're the giver of life. And yes, I know that we wouldn't have the life necessarily without the sperm. But what I'm saying is we do carry it. And then we deliver, and then we keep going, And when I look at things like, for instance, my husband, when he gets sick, he is the most pitiful person. When I get sick, I might spend maybe, couple of hours pissed about being sick or whatever, and then I keep pushing forward. I do what I need to do. I go ahead and get my rest and take care of myself. And then when I'm well, I don't milk it. I'm out the bed, ready to go. My husband, I wouldn't say he milks it, but his downtime is so much longer than mine because we just have a different kind of a mindset. I feel like as a mom, having raised 4 daughters and now I have 3 grandchildren, there's not a whole lot of time for me to be on the downside. And one of the things I think that is important when it comes to making that change and up-leveling or pursuing what it is you really want to do when you grow up is making sure that you do take good care of yourself. And that's why I focus a lot on not just the self-care message, but also what that really means, what it really means to be healthy on the inside that can radiate out. It's not, again, so much what you look like, it's what your health is like. And if your health is good, then all the other things that you try to do to cover up bad health with the makeup and the hair and the nails and the clothes and all that kind of stuff, you don't even have to do anymore. And I'll tell you, I'm 61 years old and I'll be 62 in 6 months. I'm counting. But I feel like I get more attention now at this age than I ever did when I was in my 30s. And I have gray hair and the wrinkles are there. And I'm a little bit larger than I was back then. But I think it's the health that's radiating from the inside out. I'm okay with me. I'm not perfect. I'm not even going for perfection anymore. In fact, if it was up to me, I would remove that from the dictionary. There's just no such thing as perfection. And nor am I going for that. But I am going for wellness in my mind, body, and spirit. And it's a quest, but it's a quest that I feel will keep you healthy and will give you that kind of energy where people want to know, or that kind of light where people want to know, what is it? What do you put on your hair? What do you put on your skin? How do you see? And it's really not about all of that. I mean, that's a piece of it, but it really is about how I'm able to, how you're able to stay healthy in all of the continuum, not any one thing. When you're on that quest to stay healthy in your mind, body, and spirit, there's something on the inside that begins to change and it radiates out. And you do look better because you're now on a quest to do what makes you happy. That's the difference.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I remember when we went was it Panera Bread?
Mm-hmm.
And we met there and you walked in and you're like rocking this scarf and this color. And it was just like, you couldn't, nobody could miss you. And it wasn't that you were trying to stand out, is that you were radiating.
Well, what? It's interesting.
It's just awesome. Yeah.
It was interesting because for years and years and years, I used to love to wear black. In fact, I was going through my closet and a lot of the black stuff I hadn't even worn this summer, and then over time I got into colors and what they mean and everything else. Just recently, I got into what colors mean, but I naturally gravitated to brighter and more brilliant colors because that's how I was beginning to feel. And, now the winter's coming up, you wear the blacks and stuff like that because it's winter and that's all you can find. But I've been looking for grays and blues and, burnt oranges and things like that because I am now feeling more comfortable about being who I am and being noticed. Whereas before, I think I was trying to be more like everybody else or blend in or not be noticed as much. I don't know why. I haven't really sat back to figure out the why behind it. All I know is that it was time for me to leave that behind and move into my season of where I am right now. I think you are in the season for a reason. So the black was for a reason. I needed that at that particular time. But now I'm in this thing where I need to be radiating out, and part of my radiating out is gravitating towards the colors that help me do that. And yesterday I bought some things for this, yoga video that I'm doing. And I had to get, some workout stuff and everything. And normally I would choose black because black is slenderizing. But I thought, okay, well, here's an idea, Lynnis. If you want to look a little thinner, why don't you just drop some inches? You know what to do. Instead of putting on something that makes you look, thinner, go ahead, get the colors you want. And if you want to drop those pounds and those inches so that you'll look a little bit thinner, then do that and still wear your color. I was like, oh, okay. But, normally I would be like, no, I don't want to do that because it requires weight, work, and all that kind of stuff. But no, I'm doing something that will probably ultimately help me to be healthier anyway, because I did junk my body during this summer in terms of, eating all the fun foods and everything. So, okay, it's time for me to do that. And so now I'm really more tuned into the things that serve me well. And I think that when you get older, when you get over 40, you begin to want to get tuned into that. And I would say for anybody who's getting over 40 or over 50 or whatever, don't stamp that voice out. That voice is going to lead you to your ultimate good. That voice that's telling you there's something else. On the other side of that, there's something else. Yeah. Go ahead and find out what that something else is. And I can guarantee you that you will have more joy and more peace. Not that you don't have problems. I still have the same problems. I still have some of the same issues, but I encode the world differently. I deal with those problems in a different way than I did 10 years ago. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the journey. It has changed me for the better, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and what I hear in that is that you're embracing it and you're embracing the opportunity of, oh, well, I can shed some pounds. Why don't I just do that? Right. Versus judging it as, yes. Oh, I can't believe I ate all that. I shouldn't have. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. My dad used to say, coulda, shoulda, woulda doesn't buy squat. Basically, it's like, stop doing that to her. We have to stop doing that to ourselves and embracing.
Yes, that's true.
And just saying, oh, okay, well, then I'll just release it. Actually, it's funny because between last year and this summer, I had gained a whole bunch of weight. And I don't know how or why this happened. I can't imagine that I ate that much more, mm-hmm. Had a few meals out or whatever, but nothing significant. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just noticed my clothes weren't fitting. And then I looked at the scale and I saw numbers that I had never seen before. And I was like, what? and so then I knew that something needed to happen. But it's interesting because I, for a moment went into that, oh, what do I need to do? Right? Like, oh, I don't feel good. And then I was like, well, wait a second. You know what? This is easy. I know how to do this. I can just relax. And when I relax with it, it started to drop off without having to really do much.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That is true. As we get older, our metabolism is going to naturally slow down. And there's all kinds of studies that show that we gain about an extra pound every year or something like that. That's going to happen. And so, you decide at some point in time, I'm either going to eat less, portion control, you're going to cut calories, you're going to work out more, whatever it is. But while you're going through that, know that you can make the change if you want to. You can, I don't like to use the word losing weight or diets anymore. I much rather say I want to release the weight, because what you release, it's gone. It doesn't come back. What you lose, you might find it later on. So if you are interested in getting in shape and losing those couple of inches of pounds that came as a result of just age and slowing the metabolism, you first want to get into the idea, first of all, you can do it, and that you're going to release it. And it's not going to return. I believe that losing inches and pounds is just as much a whole mental transformation as it is what you eat and working out and what you do in terms of staying fit. It is, again, a combination of your mind, body, and spirit. It is a lifestyle change. And I think anytime you're making any change in your life, if you're changing careers or moving to a whole new home, or in the case we're talking about, releasing weight, it really is a lifestyle thing. It involves all of you, not just one part of you. I think when you approach it that way, okay, you're moving into a new place, okay, what new things that I'm interested in are going to be around where I am. And you move to a new place and all of a sudden you realize you hate it because there's nothing that's engaging you socially because you don't know anybody. You know about that. You're moving to a new place. Okay, will there be room for my workout equipment? Is there a dance studio near? Do I have a backyard where I can work out? Oh, no, you don't have any of that. No wonder I hate this house so much. So, when you're making those kinds of choices, you want to take a look at it from those three perspectives. How is my mind benefiting? How is my spirit being enhanced? And, and how is my body being encoded? How is my body being impacted? And many times when you approach changes in that way, you'll find, first of all, whether or not you really want to do that change when you really look at it, but also that you find that it is a much more successful change because all those needs are being met. I now feel that if I can't make sure that all those needs are being met when I'm considering some kind of a change, I don't make the change. Whereas before I would. No, I don't. Because I don't want to let go of that quest of taking care of those three components.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you've got a lot of different programs that, I mean, I would love to have you unpack, and that maybe is another conversation for another day, as to what your day looks like and some of the things, like you've alluded to it, journaling is a big part of your life,
Yes.
health and what you eat, and like you
Yes.
talked about your environment and working out and so forth. Now, some of this is of course available through your programs and so forth. So tell us your website and
Sure.
what listeners can find.
Well, my website is wellnesswoman40.com. wellnesswoman40.com. And I have stress reduction programs, weight release programs. I also have an online magazine that I'm always looking for advertisers and sponsors for. And I also have a podcast, the Wellness Journey podcast series. And I just recently launched a new webcast on YouTube, a live YouTube called Living Well Women. And it is a wellness program for sisters over 40, women of color. And the reason why I decided to produce something like this is that I feel that women of color, especially in this country, they have somewhat of a different story and life experience. And there's different things that impact their wellness. And I got a panel of women who are of color to be with me on this show and to cover some topics that maybe we're not talking about, that we just kind of keep inside and don't really share. I think it's healthy for people of like minds and like experience to kind of put some things out on the table, like, wow, you feel like that? Yeah, I feel like that too. Oh, it's not so bad, not so scary. So anyway, those are the things that I'm doing. And if you just go to my website, you can connect you to just about everything that I'm doing. And also, I would like to encourage those who are women that are listening who happen to be on Facebook. I have a group that I've really been working on growing called Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond Group. And it's a wonderful group of women. I started it last December, and now we're over 1,700 women from literally all over the world, and all over 40, all talking about wellness and holistic living for the mind, body, and spirit. And I tell you, those ladies teach me more things than I could ever teach myself. I learned so much from their point of view. So I invite your listeners to come and to check out the group. It's really a lot of fun, and I'm sure that they will probably meet someone or see a posting or something that will resonate with them and say, oh, wow, I didn't know I was the only one that felt that way, or I thought I was the only one that felt that way. So.
Yes, thank you. And that's a big piece of it, I think, is that we sometimes feel like we're the only one experiencing this, and everybody else, because we see the highlight reels and everybody looks like they're doing so amazing. Yeah. And, they're so vibrant, and you see those on, social media. And in reality, there's a lot of people going through very similar challenges. And if we can support each other, then we can move beyond that collectively. We can move beyond that. So that is awesome. So we'll make sure all those links are in the show notes on leadersoftransformation.com. And so our listeners and our viewers can get to you and connect, and highly recommend. I'm actually part of that group as well, with the Facebook group, and I don't get as much time to bounce around in different groups as I would like to, but I know it's such an extraordinary group of women, and the value that you bring there is tremendous. So highly encourage people to check that out. And on your podcast, there are some amazing guests.
Yes.
Great value there as well. And so, yes. So thank you, Lynnis. I so appreciate you. You've been such an incredible supporter of the Leaders of Transformation and me personally. And it's just a testament to who you are.
Well, thank you. I truly do believe that universe brought us together for a reason. I can't wait to find out what's going to happen with us in 2019.
Yes.
It's going to be great. Whatever it is, it's going to be good.
I'm all for it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. I highly encourage you to take action. I always say, Leaders of Transformation, take action. It's one thing to learn all this great information and be inspired by other people's stories, but where the rubber meets the road is when you actually take action. Take action on something that Lynnis said. Maybe it's starting to journal. Maybe it's asking yourself those questions in the morning or in the evening, or even just looking at your environment and saying, you know what, does this environment actually inspire me? Does it support me in being who I want to be and who I desire to be in the life that I desire to have? And does it support me in my mind, my body, and my spirit? And, and if not, start making some changes. But today, whatever it is, do something today to take action and move forward, because information on its own is not going to do it. What's the saying is that training without application is just entertainment. And so there's much more than all of that. I encourage you that. I look forward to hearing your stories. Of course, you can find us on leadersoftransformation.com. You can find us on Facebook by searching Leaders of Transformation. We also have a great community there as well. And tell us tell us how this has impacted you. We'd love to hear your comments and questions. And we'll make sure that if you have questions, we'll forward them on to Lynnis. Or you can just go directly to her website and connect with her directly. So we encourage you to that. We wish you a great day and look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.